What's going on, bringers? Welcome to your 8th Java tutorial, again with me, Travis, from mybringback, and hopefully we'll kind of, clear some of that confusion you guys might have had in the last tutorial with these constructors. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to utilize some of this information we're passing into our dog class when we create a dog object, whether it be Jerome or Henry. Because now we have a constructor, we're passing some information that we want to be assigned to this specific dog object. We're passing in 2 strings, as you can see. We could set up any kind of constructor that we want. We could set up a constructor that takes in 10 strings as long as we define it within our dog class. But all we have now is a constructor that takes in 2 strings that we have here. We also can set up a dog object that doesn't really do anything besides bark and dig. We'd have whatever, but we aren't. We also aren't doing this one with a string and an int. We're just dealing with 2 string objects, so I'm going to delete those 2 other constructors. I was just showing that for example in the last tutorial. And so let's kind of walk through what we've done here, and then we'll kind of work with that. So what we did is we created 2 dog objects, and they're a little bit unique. They have 2 different string values that we're passing in when we create this object. So let's just think about Jerome for now. We have 2 strings, or 2 parameters. Both parameters are string parameters, and then our dog is constructed for us, or built, created, however you guys want to think of it. So let's go into our dog class and kind of work with these, work with this information that we're being passed in. So now it's constructing Jerome for us. It's like, okay, Jerome is a dog. This is the dog class, makes sense. Jerome is going to have a specific string called name. It's going to have a specific string called breed. We haven't established what those are yet. We could, set this equal to a gangster. Jerome could be a gangster if we want, something like that. But how we're going to define what these strings mean is within our constructor. Again, we're getting 2 strings being passed in, and that's basically what this constructor is saying, and we're relabeling those strings as N and B. Even though we're getting passed in Jerome and Golden Retriever, we're relabeling those references as N and B. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set up these strings we have defined for our dog class equal to whatever is being passed in within our constructor. So we're just setting our string equal to whatever the first parameter is, which is Jerome, and our string breed equal to our second parameter, which is Golden Retriever. Now we can utilize or use these string variables within other methods. So let's create a couple other methods. We're going to say void print name. This is nothing new. This is just creating some new methods here. And what we're going to do is we're going to say system printout, and we could say system printout Jerome, if we wanted. But now we have a new variable, a string variable, that we got passed in within our constructor. So we're just going to say name. That's what it's going to return, is the name. Again, we establish what name means when this object was being built. Name is basically the same as our first parameter within our constructor. So that's why we set up these string variables, because if we put N here, if we put system printout N, you'd be like, hey, I have no idea what you're talking about. What is this N thing? So we're getting passed in this first parameter called N, and then we're establishing our name to be equal to whatever is being passed in as our first parameter. So now we can system print out name, and we can also create another method, void print breed. Sorry if this still isn't making much sense. It's getting pretty late here, so just let me know if I need to make another tutorial on this stuff, explain it a little bit more thoroughly. But again, it's just going to be a basic concept here where we print the breed, and that's why we established this string called breed. We're setting that equal to our second parameter, and that's what we're going to print out whenever we call this print breed. So now when our Jerome object's created again, we give it some initial information. It builds upon that within our constructor, which sets our string variables equal to whatever our parameters are, our first parameter and our second parameter, and then since we established what those strings mean now, we can print those out when we call this print name method. So we can say Jerome dot print name and Jerome dot print breed. I gotta set our semicolons there, and now when we run our application, it's gonna say Jerome golden retriever, you know, whatever, without the spaces there or whatnot. But you know, that's pretty much what's working. But now what we can also do is, because that's going to work with Henry as well, so we can say print print name, because Henry has this method as well, and we can also say Henry dot print breed. And let's go back to our Java here and just change the system print out to system print line. That's just going to kind of separate it for us for both of those methods. So now when we save it and run it, as you can see, it says Jerome golden retriever, Henry pit bull, because when we constructed these objects, we gave it some initial information that, you know, this class is utilizing, this dog class. And now when we use, you know, print name for Henry, we gave it that initial parameter, and you know, this print name method is built upon that parameter that got passed in. I don't know if that kind of makes sense or not, but if you guys just analyze this little code that we created here, hopefully you'll understand how constructors work and why they're beneficial, because it's a little bit different. We can also, you know, do Henry dot dig and Jerome dot dig, you know, whatever. They both have the dig methods as well, but they're both just going to say wah wah. They're pretty much the same there, but we can also specify unique individual attributes upon how we build them with the constructor. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. If it doesn't, kind of look over the code, kind of figure out what's going on, and if not, just leave me a comment and we can go over it a little bit in a different way or something to make sure it makes sense for you guys. But thanks again for watching, subscribing, and thumbs up. Definitely appreciate that. I'll catch you guys in the next tutorial, and have a good night or day, whatever. Peace.